Hello from the American Muscle Car Museum here in Melbourne, Florida. Today we brought out one of my favorite vehicles from the collection, a beautiful 1971 Ford Mustang Boss 351. This Boss 351 is an identical car that I had back in college. According to the Marty report, there's one of 20 that has this identical configuration, and I used to own this identical configuration back in the late 70s and early 80s back in Massachusetts. Ford Motor Company built a total of 1,806 Boss 351s. You had your selection of 6 different factory exterior colors: red, white, and blue, green, ginger, and black. What made the Boss 351 so special? Well, you started off with the base 351 Cleveland, which I always believed was a great motor to start with. Go ahead, add a 4-barrel carburetor to it. In this case, it was an Autolite 4300D carburetor. And you could get great performance with this vehicle and still get what you'd call respectable gas mileage. Quarter-mile times typically ran in about 13.8 seconds at 100 miles per hour. 0 to 60 was about 5.8 seconds. But people knew that the Boss 351 engine had a lot more potential. So most people would go ahead, pull off that Autolite 4300D carburetor, get rid of it, put on a double pumper Holley, go ahead, put a Edelbrock Torker manifold, and then add a set of headers, and you were producing 400 plus horsepower. That's exactly what I did way back in 1978, because horsepower was the name of the game. So I used to take my Mustang all the way up to New England Dragway, Epping, New Hampshire, and actually used to run the car up there with that configuration. The car typically would run low 13s and a quarter mile, and where the factory was rated at 100 miles per hour, you could creep up to about 107, 108 miles per hour at the end of your quarter mile speeds. That being said, you had a selection of 3 different gear ratios. You had the 350, you had the 391, and you had the 430 rear end. The vehicle I had was the 391 rear, which was kind of the middle ground of both. The worst thing about driving a Boss 351, especially with a 391 gear ratio, is when you'd actually drive the 70 miles all the way to New England Dragway and back, it's a lot of RPMs when you're going about 70 miles an hour on the highway. So you definitely would have a lot more road noise with this compared to if you had, let's say, the 350 rear. Of course, the headers also didn't help, but hey, it was a great time. You were young, you put the windows down, you cranked up the music, and you shot on down the highway and had a blast. The vehicle has been restored by Kevin's Classics, also known as Kevin Manley is the gentleman, up in Minnesota. Kevin's Classics has specialized in the restoration of Boss Mustangs now for the last almost 20 years, and this is one of his restorations. This is an MCA Gold class winner, a fully documented vehicle with the original Marty report that goes with the vehicle, documenting its authenticity. If you enjoy this vehicle, go ahead, check us out further at the AmericanMuscleCarMuseum.com, or if you want, follow us on Facebook or on Instagram. Again, thank you very much for watching.